Welcome to Verse Breakdown. I am Ewaenruwa Nomaren, and I want to discuss the verse Luke chapter 6, verse 49, which reads, "But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man that without foundation built an house upon the earth, against which the stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great." Luke chapter 6 in verses 48 and 49 was a parable, not really a real event. So all the things that Jesus Christ used were symbolic of things in this world. For example, the house represents our hearts, because the truth, when preached, if we read Matthew chapter 24 verse 14, lands in the hearts of those who listen to it, illustrated by the parable of the sower in Matthew chapter 13 from verses 3 to 8 and verses 18 to 23. The seed that's being thrown around in various places is the various hearts that the gospel message is planted in. However, the problem is building upon physical things on this earth. That is, building your faith on physical people, physical institutions built by man, not by God, etc., do not last. They're not stable. They're like the sand. And the Israelites would describe themselves as that. If you read Psalms chapter 103 from verses 12 to 14. Humanity is weak and unreliable. If we read Job chapter 15 verse 14, which is why the Bible has told us to not put our trust in political leaders and what they set up. Put not your trust in princes, nor in the Son of Man, in whom there is no help. His breath goeth forth, he returneth to his earth. In that very day his thoughts perish. Psalms chapter 146 in verses 3 and 4. But to understand this concept, we have to go into examples of how Luke chapter 6 verse 49 actually played out in real life. For example, in Genesis chapter 3 from verses 1 to 6, Satan the devil and his temptation, which was the wind or the stream, just as how in the parable the stream came, beat vehemently. Satan came to Adam and Eve, and because Adam and Eve's faith wasn't really based on the fact that they really loved God, they had integrity, instead it was just they lived in peace kind of thing. When Satan came with his temptation, with his suggestion and everything, they just fell in to that. If you read Genesis chapter 3 from verses 1 to 6. The Pharisees were people who would build their faith upon men. They would justify themselves before men. If we read Luke chapter 16 verse 15, and teach the commandments of men. If we read Matthew chapter 15 verse 9. But in the end, because they ignored Jesus Christ, persecuted him, etc., all of their belief and glory from human beings ended in AD 70. This can be contrasted with Jesus Christ because he was somebody who built on a rock. He built on God, and that was why when Satan the devil tempted him in Matthew chapter 4 with various kingdoms, he didn't fall in because he knew that God's plan was for those kingdoms to eventually be destroyed, as we see in Revelation chapter 19 from verses 11 to 21 and many other places all over the Bible. And in our time, the last days, God has brought in the abomination of desolation, the political system, and science and technology, and the belief that everybody has in that, to test spirituality in this world, to see who's righteous and who isn't. If we read Malachi chapter 3 verse 18, and also the parable of the wheat and tares in Matthew chapter 13, from verses 24 to 30, and from verses 38 to 43. Most people don't understand the fact that the political system has come to test the spiritual system, which is why the spiritual system is fading, because people's faith were not based on God, but based on what spiritual leaders in the past set up, which were not based, of course, on what Jesus Christ wanted. But when we understand the fact that we are in the last days and God expects us to retain our spiritual integrity, then we will not run after political leaders because we know that they are only going to last for a time. Eventually, God is also going to go after them because they do not rule the way God wants them to, and that entire system will end, as we see in Revelation chapter 19 from verses 11 to 21, Jeremiah chapter 51 from verses 20 to 23, and many other places all over the Bible. And if you read Psalm chapter 18 verse 2, David the psalmist described believing in God as building on a rock, God being a rock, because what God does is stable and endures. The Lord is my rock, my fortress and my deliverer. My God, my strength, in whom will I trust? My buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. We should be like David the psalmist because it is such ones who will inherit the immovable will of God. If we read Hebrews chapter 12 verse 28. And that's where I'm going to stop on discussing the verse Luke chapter 6 verse 49, which once again reads, But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man that without a foundation built an house upon the earth, against which the stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. God bless you.